underground, given room to breathe, not but be drowned. So die if you get the chance. Better men than you've been, let this dance. To go, leave me, run like you've never run before. I have seen the worst, and there is nothing left for me to hate, so I can lay me down. My brothers on the ground, I bled today until Coyote comes to raise me up and carries me.
Good evening and welcome to the Scottish Rugby podcast in association with the Scottish Rugby blog. My name is Craig Manson. I'm your host tonight, and it's a joy and a wonder to be here and to, as you will probably tell, and for those that haven't listened before, I'm an Edinburgh fan, so this afternoon or this evening's chat will be absolutely fabulous for me, and I'm really looking forward to it. Joining us on the pod tonight are two of the Ouija's favourite fans. Johnny McGinty, how you doing?
I'm very good, thank you. Excited to talk about being in the final.
Well, there we go. And Iain Hay joins us as well. Iain, how the hell are you tonight?
Hello. It's been a tough day, but I'm happy to be amongst you guys again. And also, but Craig, come on. I mean, we've got some prop action to talk about. Oh, well, 151 minutes of starting props. Oh, does that not tickle your fancy bone, Craig?
Well, there has to be a plus point to everything that we're talking about tonight, and you have given the silver lining to the cloud of doom that I have been an Edinburgh fan, Iain. So thank you very much. So you can watch along. Tonight's a little bit different. What we're doing is we are on www. We have a group of Patreons who support this podcast. If you want to join them, it's on www.patreon.com/Scottish Rugby Podcast. And for the price of a bottle of water at Scotstoun per month, you can get yourself part of the action, be part of our super secret Patreon page. You can get involved in some of the conversations on our secret Facebook page as well. But what usually happens is we have 40 minutes or so of live pod to everybody, and then we have 40 minutes to an hour of chat that our good old Patreons get. And tonight, what we're doing is going to give you all a little bit of an introduction to what we do on the Patreon side of things. So if you pay that extra little bit of money, £3 a month, or you can go up to a VIP of £5 a month, you can join us on the Patreon side, and you can listen to some of the heartfelt musings of both Jonny and Iain on how they love Glasgow, and there's nothing better than the Glasgow team. And did you know we have won the URC before? So if you are interested in doing that, please go to www.patreon.com/rugby, Scottish Rugby Podcast, and pay your extra little bit of money per month, and it helps us produce this podcast. And I've talked long enough.
Tell everyone that the two reasons that you're given for the fact that we're going to do just like a semi-Patreon one episode pod tonight are one, you think Glasgow need more fans, and two, you can't be asked to talk about Glasgow for an hour and a half.
Well, there is that. That's why I'm drinking tonight, just to get myself through it all.
And also, it's sub-Patreon because we're not allowed to swear. I've already been warned. Apparently, I'm the problem around here, although I seem to remember.
No, hang on. We didn't say no swearing. We said keep the swearing to a minimum. It's a taster, Ian. We don't want to go full bore.
Oh, no, yeah. Please.
But then sometimes,
I really don't want to go full bore. This is all meant to be helping out and letting people see what we do on the Patreon, and not scaring the shit out of people.
And tell them how good.
Craig looks semi-defeated already. This is brilliant.
Oh, I'm fully defeated. Don't you worry about that. I'm just about as happy as Peter O'Mahony. But anyway, we'll move on. So the news this week has been a small amount of news, and pretty much all of it's going to be around a certain team. But we'll start talking about it. There is one piece of news coming out of France, and Jonny Hogg has been rumoured for many months or weeks now, but it has been confirmed by Mr. Altrad, the crazy lunatic that he is, that he has signed Stuart Hogg for 2 years. What do you think of that?
Mm-hmm. I am the walk-in, living embodiment of the Jose Mourinho "I prefer not to speak" gif when it comes to anything to do with Stuart Hogg at the moment. I think anyone who's listened to the pod for long enough will know I was a massive fan. I've got the shorts that he wore the day that he broke the try-scoring record in my house. Because you
have danced around in those shorts like the guy. What's it? Jamie Gunn in Silence of the Lambs wearing a skin suit.
I was very proud of the Hoggy shorts. My little boy absolutely loves the Hoggy shorts, and everything that has happened since then has kind of. What's significantly worse than tarnished? Like his reputation, as far as I'm concerned, from where he was to where he is now. Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody's in a long time has had that drastic of a fall. So, good luck to him. I hope France treats him well. Montpellier are not exactly a beacon of morality, being as they're also trying to sign Mohamed Hawass back when he comes out of prison. So. Yeah, I'm going to leave it at that. I hope he does okay.
Ian, there are many things that we could have a discussion about that usually in the Patreon we have the anonymity of being a behind the paywall side of things, but without getting us either banned from Facebook or getting a lawsuit from Stuart Hogg, what's your thoughts on it? Excellent. Thank you very much, Ian. That's it.
Once again, I think Johnny's missed a couple of things. No, but Johnny's everything.
Well,
Johnny said.
Well, unfortunately,
you'd heard rumours with sports persons all over the place. Do I keep cracking out, or is?
Yeah, it sounds like Stuart Hogg's lawyer tries to get
rumours abound, but that happens. Yeah, but you kind of hoped it was just scurrilous tabloid tittle tattle, and this guy was a great kick-started the mini Scotland Revolution because we were absolutely muck before he came along. And then Finn Russell came over and stole the show. But then, of course, the most disappointing thing is the reasons for retirement. And again, we've heard rumours about all of this post-retirement. My body is broken. I want to spend time with the wife and kids. And then what happens. And I just think it does not reflect well on him. We've still not heard the word sorry as far as I can see. I even saw that he direct messaged somebody on Instagram, seemingly in a sort of, "Oh, you don't even know who I am," sort of way. He's blocked Squidge, apparently. If he can, like I've said before, there's redemption. The whole point of the justice system is to punish and redeem. Allow redemption, rehabilitate, and all that kind of thing. If he sorts himself out, fine.
And what you've got to remember, Ian, is what do you get? The bachelor, about town gentleman who has a large lawyer's bill to pay. It's a French rugby team paying you a lot of money to come out of retirement. So on that note, what we'll do is we'll move on. And great to see on the 2nd of July, the Challenge Cup draw will be happening. And it's a possibility that Edinburgh will be welcoming Stuart Hogg and his Montpellier teammates to the Hive. That's if that doesn't breach his cease and desist order. So we will see how we get along with that. But 2nd of July, we'll find out who Edinburgh will be playing in the Challenge Cup. So that's exciting. There we go. I've grabbed onto a small piece of Edinburgh news and made it big as much as I can. So Jonny,
I think they're making the big is something you can tell at, Craig, isn't it?
Absolutely, Jonny. Andrea Picardi is to ref the final, the URC final. Frank Murphy, Craig Evans are both the assistant referees, and Mattioli Perini is the TMO. Have Glasgow got no chance, mate?
Glasgow turned it around with Andrea on Saturday night. This is the sort
Frank
of thing that
Murphy's going to be there, mate.
I know. The less said about the Frank, the better. This is the sort of thing I would normally keep for the Patreon because I do not like to drag it in public. But those two semi-finals on Saturday afternoon were some of the worst refereeing I have seen in a long time. And Andrea Piardi was right in the middle of one of them. Piardi probably is one of the best referees in the URC. What I will say is that says a lot more about refereeing in the URC than it does about Andrea Piardi. I think Glasgow turned it around on Saturday afternoon. Hopefully they can keep that momentum going, not have the sort of disciplinary start that they had on Saturday. I am going to double down on my Jose Mourinho prefer not to speak when it comes to Frank Murphy, but I don't know. I don't think there's a stronger refereeing team probably available apart from Holly, but she obviously can't referee. So I mean that's as good as it gets, and I'm not going to say any more on what I mean by that.
Ian's keeping awful quiet.
Have Frank Murphy employed for a bit as a sort of referee analyst.
Yeah, he did. I don't know if it was Glasgow, but I think he was involved with the SRU. No, it was it wasn't Frank Murphy. It was what's his name?
The one that got sacked by the Premiership.
McCoy. No, whatever his name is. AP, whatever his name, or JP.
Yeah.
JP.
No, Doyle. JP Doyle. AP McCoy's Doyle.
JP Doyle. Yeah, that's it.
JP Doyle is who I think of.
Anyway,
I think it looks similar, to be honest.
So that's us. That's the refereeing team has all been set up for the final. And just to finish up on the old news, we have had the URC Elite 15 as well as the Players of the Season and awards, etc., has come out. Ian, obviously top try scorer of the year, Johnny Matthews from Glasgow. Turnover king Jamie Ritchie, a couple of players to write home about. But do you think the URC, the IRFU, the URC thought that Munster were going to win this, considering Graham Roundtree's the coach of the year, Jack Crowley is Jack Crowley is the next gen player of the season. There's a fair bit of Munster in there, is there not?
Yeah, well, to be fair, like Crowley won Player of the Season as well. So obviously there's a lot of ex-Munster players playing somewhere. Yeah, Richie also made the Elite 15.
Along with
I think this
along
is
with
positive.
Johnny Chiopolotu.
At 13,
Yeah.
by the way.
Mm-hmm. So versatile. I mean, there was a couple of decisions in that I thought sketchy. But Richie being turnover king, we were worried about his level of performance had dropped a bit. The being Scotland captain, but now he's just back to being a nasty little annoying beast bar steward. I can say that on this.
You can, yes.
But the problem is, we have lots of people doing that, especially Matt Ferguson. Edinburgh also represented by conceding the try of the season to Afilele Fassi. I actually thought it was better tries. Anything else? Sorry, I just think that the Elite 15, I think there's a couple of issues with that. What, 6 Bulls?
Yeah.
They topped the league. Roundtree winning Coach of the Year. Right, they finished regular season champions, but they were already defending champions. I would have thought Toby Booth, Jake White, even.
Yeah, well,
Franco.
I think when we talk,
obviously, I was going to Franco's hat in the ring.
I have to say this, and no matter what I've said at the beginning of this episode, not to have Franco, really that trophy should be going into Franco Smith's hands, because what he's managed to do at Glasgow and the turnaround at Glasgow from a team that were, that were struggling significantly, and what he's managed to do with the team, because, and we'll talk about this further down the line, but the belief that Glasgow seem to have right now is definitely coach led, and I think Roundtree's a fantastic coach. Don't get me wrong; he's well thought of, and everyone talks highly of him. But his team isn't in the final, and I think that usually all of these awards get taken from the European Player of the Year. Tends to get taken from the European Cup finals, final teams. Same that the URC should be very, very similar.
And I think, when you consider how poorly Glasgow ended the season, the 2 defeats in South Africa, one very embarrassing, one kind of embarrassing. They struggled against Zebra, didn't look in good form. Then to beat Stormers, good performance against Stormers, and to win away at Thorn Park. Apparently, we're the only team, I think, the only European team to do it twice in the last 5 years. Oh, no, non-Irish team, sorry. It's only Irish teams that have been in Thorn Park the last 2 years.
The only non-Irish team to beat them at Tobin Park, and the only team to do it twice, I believe, except for possibly Leinster.
So, we'll move on then, because we're obviously every chat that we've started having, the boys are bursting to talk about the Leinster and what was it they were playing? Leinster
the Leinster Bulls final.
The Leinster Bulls final, semi-final. You're desperate to talk about it. So Leinster have been slapped around and sent back again after everybody expected Leinster to have a bounce back and to come and punish anyone because they lost out in the European Cup final. So the Bulls put that all to bed, and they are number one in the final. So we go to Tobin Park, and Glasgow, as everyone has discussed and we talked about, Glasgow were definitely thought of as the underdogs going to Tobin Park. Am I right in saying, boys? But it was a big ask, but they've definitely stepped up. Glasgow 17, Munster 10. Johnny, did you have hope going into the game, or was it a bit kind of, I'm really unsure about this?
No, absolutely not at all. No.
Without hindsight, let's talk before we talk about hindsight. Come on.
No, if I'm being perfectly honest, there was not a part of me that expected Glasgow to win that game. Obviously, Ian's talked about the last 3 weeks of the season. I was at Scotstoun for the Stormers quarter-final, and it was a much better performance, but it still wasn't a complete performance. I thought the first half was a bit ropey, and I came away from that thinking that Glasgow were going to go to Thomond Park on Saturday night and get absolutely mullered, and said that to basically anyone that would listen. So I was very, very pleasantly surprised by Saturday night. I thought it was a great performance, and I did not see it coming at all.
And Ian, the same with yourself. What was your thoughts on going into the game?
I was same. My sort of hope was, I mean, considering the Scotland-Germany game the night before, when I'd even, when I'd spread my bets, I had a bet on Germany to win 4-1 and then made it 5. So everything was going wrong. And you looked at, I mean, it was Glasgow's first choice team, certainly. Munster's first choice team, but them at home, yeah, I was like, was not expected. A gallant defeat, I think, would have been all right. Going down with a losing BP, if a losing BP was available at the time, would have sufficed. But we sort of out Munster.
Yeah, definitely. That seemed to be the thing, though, Johnny. That Glasgow's defence has been getting better and better all season, but wow, they took a bit of pressure in the first half.
Yeah, defence on Saturday evening was unbelievable. It feels a weird thing to say, but at breakdown time, of all people, Tom Jordan was incredible. He was stuck into everything, just the most unexpected. But yeah, really good, I think. And as well as that, what really made the difference for Glasgow, and this has been something that I've been banging the drum about for all the Scottish teams for a long time, is that got on the wrong side of Andrea Piardi early, gave away 6 penalties in 10 minutes, and that was when the tiny remnant of hope that I had possibly been holding on to just completely disappeared. But for the first time in a very long time, Glasgow actually adjusted, stopped shipping the penalties, clearly made some changes that got themselves back on side of the referee, and just the defence was ferocious and keeping themselves right. And it was very, very pleasing to watch. Nice to see them sort of adjust to that and not just disappear into a black hole of penalties, which is what they've done previously.
Yeah, so Ian, that's one point I was going to come up to, because we're talking about, defensively very, very good, lots of pressure on them, lots of penalties. Richie Gray gets sin-binned, lots of things going wrong with Glasgow, but up steps a player who I personally think has been fairly quiet this season, no matter how much of a superstar he is. But Rory Dard steps up and puts in a turnover, a very, very, very helpful turnover at one point, and things seem to turn around. Rory Dard, a quiet season this season, Ian, but steps up when he needs to.
I've actually, one of the notes I've written down was Rory Dard, because he came off in 50 minutes of Rory Dard's an hour of power. Because he burst onto the scene, the half scene, the COVID scene, and then looked like a player. Then first full season, outstanding, and we're just expecting that level of performance all the time. And then a couple of injury niggles. It hasn't always been at those elite sort of 10 out of 10 performances that we'd almost come to expect from him. But yeah, on Saturday it was the whole back row was incredible. But this is a guy who picks these moments incredibly well. There's I think 31 turnovers in total, and Munster ended up on the winning side of that. But like you said, it was when the vital ones. I think the opening 20 minutes, Munster dominated territory. And there was that half-time stat where it showed that Munster tend to score all their points early. So then Glasgow weathered that storm, and then there's the breakaway try, and then the little bit of hope started coming.
Well, that's the thing, though, that Johnny, after that huge pressure and the turnover for Rory Dard, then Captain Fantastic steps up, someone who's been absolutely phenomenal for Glasgow for the last couple of seasons. He's really taken to Franco Smith's coaching, etc. Kyle Steyn gathers up that loose ball and runs the rest of the field, runs down the rest of the field, gets a try. Things seem to be on the up.
Yeah, a huge thing for Glasgow. Probably a stroke of luck, to be honest, to get on the end of that loose ball, but it meant that Glasgow came out of that sin bin period up on points, which was enormous. I think they ended the 2 sin bin periods in a positive points difference, and if you could do that, it's a really, really difficult thing to do. It's a big psychological difference, and Munster really were throwing everything at them while we had the 2 sin bins. And so for Kyle Steyn to do that during a sin bin, go out and make a bit of a difference. And I think that was the point. You don't think Glasgow ever really looked back from there. I was still shit at it, but the team sort of started to look like they were set in now, and they were properly going to go for it. And that's the sort of thing you expect from your captain, or you really want from your captain, is in a moment of adversity like that to turn it around, which is exactly what he did.
Yeah, and that's the thing, Ian. We look at everything starts to build, everything starts looking positive, and then Matt Fagerson gets a yellow card. Yellow card, yes, no?
Well, I mean, clearly I've got the blue tick glasses on. For me, it was a
never thought of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's an attempt to dislodge the ball, right? And one thing that when they were doing the mitigation, they never mentioned I don't think they really mentioned the massive dip in O'Mahony's height. What I just really liked about it was the fact that Matt Fagerson never backed down from Mahony at any stage. O'Mahony was always giving it his hard man patter throughout the whole game, getting in the ref's ear. Matt Fagerson just didn't seem to want it. I think it's harsh. Penalty maybe because it's forceful, but it looked, he's wrapped. He's going for the ball. It's just, where else is his shoulder meant to go? Into a guy who's leaning into his, who's falling down and leaning into his shoulder. I thought O'Mahony got away with one on George Horn a wee bit before that.
Yeah.
Similar to when he did Hogg in, what was that, 2017? Yes, I have a long-standing grudge against O'Mahony of all these incidents.
We would never think that the way Glasgow fans talk about Peter O'Mahony. I thought it was all love and flowers.
All these notes I have, there's so many just sweary words are used after O'Mahony's name.
It's funny.
I don't know, man.
I was talking to a friend, obviously a big Munster fan through the week, and our running joke this week was, if you were describing the Glasgow Munster rivalry to someone, and someone said to you, who are the baddies in this rivalry, then the only correct answer really is everyone, because I think Glasgow and Munster both revel in being the baddies, and so I think why it's the reason it's so exciting whenever we come together is that like everyone's being an arsehole to everyone and nobody's backing down. And I think Matt Fagerson and Peter O'Mahony were a brilliant example of that. That was proper fireworks on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, so that's
big shoes.
So you're going to see him?
Sorry, it's just Matt stepping into Xander's shoes now. He's like, oh, now I can go and be I'm going to go start shit. Xander,
yeah. Absolutely, yeah.
Every time that him and O'Mahony were joined, you could see Xander in the background, just desperate.
Yeah. And then thinking about his rest. Mind you, he's Xander's got a rest coming up, so he could have taken a wee ban just to a little bit of time, just if he wanted to, But so after start the second half though, down to 14 men. And this is where the big difference I see with Glasgow compared to, I'm going to say all Scottish sides. I'm talking about Scotland and also Edinburgh, because Edinburgh probably would have folded well before now. But believe me, I'm an Edinburgh fan, so I've not got my Glasgow glasses on. I'm just telling you how I'm feeling about it, especially now that I'm 3 beers down because I'm having to talk talk well about Glasgow. So the question is, though, Johnny, Glasgow are down to 14 men and they weather a fair storm at the beginning of this. They manage the yellow card period very, very well. Again, defensively, very, very strong, and they seem to. This is where the difference, and this is where the belief I feel seems to be coming through. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm exactly like you, and this is like my main thing. It's the problem that I always have with Scotland and with the other Scottish teams is this is the difference between teams that play well and teams that win stuff. Is that if you want to win things, you've got to deal with situations like that. And traditionally, people involved in Scottish rugby have not dealt with that sort of thing. So I was still very anxious come the second yellow card because I'm so used to it. We must have seen it hundreds of times with Scotland. I expected that Glasgow were just going to roll over, that they're a player down, they're away, they're in a semi-final. It's like properly shit or get off the pot time and their backs against the wall. So I think come the end of the second yellow card was when, Iain was saying the hope starts to creep in for him when Kyle Steyn scores that breakaway try. For me, it was come the end of the second yellow card to still be in the game, to have got through 2 yellow card periods and come out in a positive points net from that was when I was like, okay, this is now a team that can probably do this. That's not what we would have traditionally seen from Scottish teams. So it was a big difference.
And then Iain, we're then going to talk about this, one of the sweetest tries I've seen for some time from probably the best signing Glasgow have made since DTH ran the Merva. Sebastian Cancelleri. Is it Sebastian? Yeah.
Indeed. He's been left out of the Los Pumas squad.
He has, yeah. And he's obviously dunked the wrong biscuit in the wrong cup of tea, I think. Or has mentioned something about the Malvinas. I don't know, but he certainly doesn't seem to be on the coach's wish list. But what a try! Obviously, Hugh Jones starts it, but what a fantastic finish, and he has been the find of 2 seasons for Glasgow. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'd say the guy who actually starts it, and also we've spoken about him earlier, who is like from Super 6. The Super 6 is just finished now, as we know. But this way, Tom Jordan is clearly the find of the Super 6 because what a game he had on Sunday, not just defensively, but he starts that. His positivity, his aggressiveness to take that, I can't mind who kicked it, but he feels that kick. I think it's Haley, maybe, actually. And then he gets going. And Hugh Jones had been pretty quiet all game,
Iain gets so excited.
Sorry, you just froze there, Ronnie, but I do get excited about Hugh Jones, yes. He's just waiting. He's just like, right, here I go. Here's my line now, and I know I can get between this. He picks his moment absolutely perfectly, and Hugh Jones cuts that line. Then there's Cancelleri, the confidence to finish, and like you said, that's him on a 4-game scoring streak. Only one more to go to break a record. Last season, I think, was he top scorer last season? Or was it Matthews again?
It was Johnny Matthews.
But Cancelleri has been he's been a machine when he's been fit. Then you have to kind of pity Kyle Rowe, who's filled in more than admirably.
Yeah.
But this just shows Glasgow get real strength and confidence in their wingers.
Yeah, Kyle Rowe really has come on though, because we were seriously doubting Kyle Rowe's chops when it comes to Scotland and things like that. He was, he really has had a better season this season, but that damn Argentinian is there just stopping him getting exactly where he needs to be, is it?
Well, no competition is good, and it
Absolutely.
just means that and also the players need better rest time, I feel. But Seb has come in. So we've got Facundo Cordero as well, but he's not getting a look in. He was kind of signed as injury cover, I believe, for Cancelleri. It was Rowe came in instead of Eli Caven because we ended up being a bit short on wingers. But whoever it is that's playing there, has been excellent. Obviously, Kyle Steyn. I mean, Kyle Steyn is now, for me, he's going into that upper tier of Seymour, DTH kind of echelons of Glasgow Warriors best wingers.
Yeah, I think he's. I think though, if to be, I think where we dipped on him a little bit earlier on, where Steyn is coming into it though is I think is his leadership as well. Though I wouldn't put him ahead of DTH or I think in try scoring ability there are a few more heavier try scoring wingers out there. But I think the mixture of the ability to score tries, how he plays incredibly well, but also this ability, especially being a winger, to be the captain and to really control it, to do well for the team. He seems to have, as you say, he's bringing himself up to that sort of top end of Glasgow team members that people will, almost legends. I wouldn't go legend just yet, but you could see him getting there.
I compare him to like Sean Maitland. They have very similar game. Like they're just solid at everything. And Maitland only had like 2 seasons, so injury, like one was injury, so 2 seasons at Warriors before we went to London Irish. Then obviously excelled at Saracens, and was always great for Scotland. But he's just one of these guys who's just a solid, all-round, great rugby winger. Who could, I think Maitland could have been a great outside centre. Steyn has obviously played there before, and I always liked it there when he was picked ahead of Nick Rigg because, but Steyn, I've always been a big fan of Kyle Steyn. Like I said, just there was one point in the first half he'd been like O'Mahony and Tyburn had been nipping Priori's ear, and Kyle Steyn said something just before half time, and that seemed to turn everything around. And it sounded cheekier than anything that I ever heard Jamie Ritchie saying it to ref. I couldn't quite pick it up again on second hearing. But he got away with it. And then second half, the penalty count completely changed. Yeah. I mean, like you said, the guy's a great leader.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Good influence. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jonny, Munster fight back. Antoine Frisch comes through and scores a try. He's a real loss for Ireland, isn't it? Is he not the player that slipped, just like Ben Healy slipped through the hands of Irish rugby?
He just like lives
sand through the fingers.
He just lives a little bit too far away from the URC, IRFU, World Rugby and World Rugby refereeing offices in Dublin 4, doesn't he? I think if he'd been in a blue shirt in the URC instead of a red one, they might have made a bit more effort to keep him away from France. But he's a solid player. Him and Nankerville, you basically didn't even notice a World Cup winning All Black leaving Munster's midfield. And that's testament to how solid those two have been. Nankerville, obviously, a bit silly towards the end, but they were a serious partnership. Those two against Hugh Polotu in midfield was a stellar battle at the weekend.
Yeah, and not to miss a trick here and bring the conversation around to forwards, but again. And we've talked about this, and he is also going out to the Americas tour. But Max Williamson, had a phenomenal game again, and is topped off by that hit on Snyman. Properly showed how good he has been this season. This is the dawning of a second row stroke back rower for Scotland. We have to admit that, yeah.
Absolutely. Jonny, you can wax Roller about him first.
I mean, I don't think there's anything to say other than 100% for sure we are. Like he's been a breakthrough and a half for Glasgow this year. There were times when I was a bit like, the start of the season, you're a bit like, oh, who's Max Williamson? And then so at the second third of the season, you're like, oh, that's a solid looking bench, but then Max Williamson's will coming on, so we'll see how that goes. And then by the time it comes around to the playoffs, you're like, great, Max Williamson's coming on, everything will be fine. Like he has really, he's come on so well. I think he'll be a big part of the summer tour. I wouldn't be surprised to see him stay in the squad for the autumn tests. He's been, just a phenomenon since the start of the year.
you're an absolute bastard, Johnny McGinty, because that's my exact what I was going to say was I want everyone that's listening to this podcast to mark it down in the book that my prediction is you will see Maxwell Williamson is going to go to the Americas tour. He's going to take part of the Americas tour, and he will be starting in the Six Nations next year. I can guarantee.
You know what? Well, the last time we went to America, did we not say that about Andy Christie? And then look what happened. So we have got previous.
Yeah, but you are seeing Andy Christie now, who's now, the problem with Andy Christie is Andy Christie has got 3 or 4 players ahead of him who are playing in Scotland and are playing for and have Gregor Townsend's sort of overreach on them all the time when they're playing for both Edinburgh and for Glasgow. And Andy Christie wasn't getting that because he goes and plays the Saracens way. But actually what you're starting to see now is Andy Christie coming through, and he is actually making a huge difference. I really have got a huge amount of time for Max Williamson. I think it'll be it will be interesting to see how we get on with that.
I think him look, I remember at the start of the season, I saw a lot of Alex Samuel playing for the Bulls, Ayrshire Bulls, over the last couple of years, and he seemed to be the first one and the next cab off the rank for the Locks at Glasgow. He seems to have quite a few injury issues, and then Max Williamson's come in, and then the chances he's had, he has been phenomenal. Him and I think Gregor Hiddleston, a Stirling County boy, they've both stepped up so well, and I think again good examples of that Super Six was preparing these guys for the bigger show. But again, it proved just there's a lot of talent in the Scottish Premiership and the World Super Six. They just need to get game time. Kyle Rowe, another example. He had to leave Glasgow to go down to London Irish, and then he's come back up. We just need a better pathway system. There's talent there to get that sorted.
So, gentlemen, obviously this has been one in the eye for Peter Romani. But the question is, did Glasgow just get this and win this because Munster were burnt out after the encounter with Edinburgh? They were particularly.
Touché.
They seemed like they were tired.
What, they had the feet up drinking Murphy's?
Well, apparently, everything to do with the scoreboard that they were showing, or the advertisement board they were showing. They were already on the plane, so or no, they were already waiting on the Bulls coming over to them. So right, we're going to finish off this Glasgow Palooza. I've got other things I could call it, but I'm not going to call it tonight. This wondrous, amazing Glasgow spectacular that we're talking about them tonight, and we'll, gentlemen,
appraisal of the season.
Sorry. I'm sure we'll have an
appraisal of the season and a positive preview show.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll have an appraisal of the season as well at the end of the weekend, next week or the week after. But so, gentlemen, both of you, we'll start with Johnny. Your hopes and fears for the weekend.
Very simply, my fear is Xander. Not because I don't rate Xander, because I think Xander is a phenomenal prop. He is one of the best tight heads in the country. And by that, I mean all of the British Isles, not just Scotland, obviously.
Oh, yeah. Fraser Brown was correct, by the way, if anyone hasn't listened to that. Fraser Brown is correct.
Absolutely was. He is an absolutely phenomenal prop. My concern is that, as Ian alluded to earlier on, he's played 151 minutes in the front row in the last 2 weeks, and he's now got to go to altitude, to Pretoria, to the Bulls. And, we all know that South African front rows don't mess about. Glasgow, and I don't want to do this and put it all on his shoulders, but I think Glasgow's hopes live or die on how much Xander has got left in the tank for this weekend. We were close to them. a couple of weeks ago. We lost, obviously, but we lost with 2 bonus points. And there was a lot of players missing that will now be back. Richie Gray will be back. Duncan Weir won't be in the team, I wouldn't imagine. Although, to be fair, he kicked a couple of cracking penalties against them the last time.
Who is going to score the last-minute game-winning, URC-winning drop goal if Duncan Weir is not on the pitch?
Max Williamson.
Max
Williamson. I think this will be a slightly stronger team than the team that ran Bulls close the last time. I hope it's a great final. I think Glasgow could win. I said since the start of the playoffs that our most difficult game was going to be Thomond Park last week. I still think this will be a very difficult game. I am worried how much Xander's got. I think somebody else is going to have to step up to take a bit of the load off him at the head. But it should be a ball-winning final. I think I'm looking forward to it.
And Ian, the same question.
Well, actually, the 150 minutes I was talking about was Batty and Xander combined, but I think Xander did do a ridiculous amount against Stormers as well. Yeah,
he did because he had to come back. Go on.
Yeah, I'm kind of worried. Obviously, the logistics stuff. I'm not going to complain about it. It is what it is. We could have finished top of the table. That's a different chat for a different Patreon, perhaps. I think we need to start strongly. Because if we get in the front foot, we're very difficult to stop. Although I suppose against Munster, we proved we can defend well. Bulls are a completely different kettle of fish, though. They're going to throw it wide. We're going to throw it wide. I think it should be a very attacking game. I think we'll lose, but obviously I want us to win. But I think we'll lose it by maybe a try.
It's just occurred to me another person who will be a massive factor of the game and someone who we've not spoken about today and he deserves to be spoken about more. The way that the Bulls basically kicked Leinster off the park last Saturday afternoon is another top shelf performance from Josh Mackay is required this week. And the way that he was returning kicks, both kicking back and running at the defence on Saturday, the way he did it against the Stormers at Scotland 2 weeks ago, he's been phenomenal. He is an excellent, excellent fullback. He's just solid. He's dependable. He very rarely makes the wrong choice. The Bulls are going to come hard at him. And the altitude, Goosen and Chris Smith were kicking everything down the throats of Leinster at the weekend. I imagine that they're going to come and try and do the same. And we need Josh Mackay to step up one more time because he's had a great playoff so far and needs to do it again. Him and Xander are the keys, I think.
Yeah, that was the Elite 15. So, sorry, Craig.
No. I think the big thing for me, and I've got to disagree with you slightly, Johnny. I wouldn't just pin the key on one or two people's doors. My big question mark will be Glasgow's defence. Can they keep it up? Can they keep the work? Because they are, Munster are a particularly hard-hitting team, but they're not a South African hard-hitting team, and the Bulls will come at you. Their forwards will come at you, and we need to make sure, Glasgow. Listen to me, almost talking about Glasgow as if Glasgow's part of my life.
Come to us, Craig. Come to us. Join us.
It's okay. I'm wearing my orange and blue underpants. It's fine. But I think I'm never confused. But I think for me, if they can show the level of defence that they have and continue that, but also this turnover ball that they seem to have, this disruptive, whenever the ball's turned over and then their counter attack, if the Bulls haven't sussed that out, then I think you'll see a good win for Glasgow. But the Bulls, just as you say, Ian, the Bulls seem to have a lot of different things. They have they've got the altitude, they've got the home crowd. They've got about the 12 people that turn up for South African club matches, but also they've got altitude, they've got these heavy hitters, but then they've got this kicking game. And I have to say, I don't believe that Glasgow have the kicking game that other teams have. So it's going to be an interesting one. It really is. I really can't call it because people are out there saying, "Oh, Bulls are going to win this. Bulls are going to win this," but I honestly can't call it.
Yeah, I think, look, George Horn against Munster, he kicked more than anyone, and apparently George Horn had kicked more than. I can't remember. I think when I read the Pro 14 stats, he was like second or third highest, like in terms of kicks from hand. And usually they're pretty good. It's like George Horn had played 10 in his younger career. Well, now he's just me nippy, annoying as hell scrum half. Who's playing fantastically, might I add. And
for some reason,
and
he's also known as not giving up his business class seat for the second rows who are stuck in economy. So that's quite a nice thing to know about him as well.
Scandal of rumours. The Hornito needs his sleep. I'm going back to Johnny saying about Josh Mackay. Like Josh Mackay, from day one, I've thought this boy's a player. And this year, I mean, William Gallant is fantastic. I'm not going to deny that. But that Elite 15, Mackay tops pretty much every attacking stat. Like defenders beaten, meters made. He scored, I think, how many? Is 8 or 9 tries this season? He's like the top scoring Warriors fullback, or tied with Hogg's best season. I mean, Josh Mackay is an absolute baller. And do we have a kicking game? I don't think we particularly want to, but there's a lot of guys who can kick well. Jordan could nudge one over. Hugh Jones put in a lovely kick on the counter early doors. I think that's one of the few advantages of us tossing him back to 15. It's like Hugh Jones.
Kyle Staines an underrated kicker as well.
Yeah, and then you have Donkey Weir who can come on and kick the night away.
But I think the only change from the 23, I think the 15 will be exactly the same. I think the only change in the 23 might be Weir for Thompson.
Well, there you go. There's a call.
Depending on how they want to, depending on how Glasgow want to play it.
Well, because Thompson's when he finishes up with Glasgow, where's he going? Driving along somewhere.
Some Walmart Challenge Cup team.
Past Heart Health Services.
Right. 3 hours at least. God.
So that's us for the preview for and the review of Glasgow's last game and also what's coming up for them this weekend. As I've had 4 beers now, I'm halfway through my 4th beer, so I'm quite happy to, my Elvis juice has brought me to this level of saying there are other beers available, by the way. To say good luck to Glasgow. We are all behind them. The Scottish rugby contingent are behind them, and I hope all goes well. And to all the Glasgow fans, we do really love you, the Weege, even though we live along the road in Edinburgh and we have a better strip, etc. But I'm going to cling to that. So, what happens usually on our Patreon podcast is we have a little thing called Hands in the Ruck. So, if those that haven't seen it before, we're about to give you a little bit of Hands in the Ruck. So we have a little what's the word? Musical interlude, and then we're going to talk about some Hands in the Ruck. On you go, Johnny.
Hands in the ruck, who has got their hands in the ruck? Hands in the ruck, hands in the ruck, who has got their hands in the ruck?
So this is our opportunity to let loose and to set right the rugby world for this week. And we've got a couple of Hands in the Rucks from our patrons. Am I right in saying, Johnny? Do we want to deal with them first before you guys get in, or do you guys want to get stuck in first and then we'll deal with them? What do you think?
It's entirely up to you. I think you probably.
Well, let's hear because this is a special pod this week. Let's hear from our patrons. These are people who support us and look after, help us produce this pod that we do every week. So come on, Johnny. Who's the first patron who has a Hands in the Ruck?
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. There's a couple that we have touched on already, so we'll blast through them. Der Andere, I've probably pronounced that wrong. Hands in the Ruck, first half ref in Tobin Park, although the second half was some turnaround, which I think we've spoken about already. Our good friend Leslie, friend of the pod, just said hair plugs are the team of abusers. I think we probably have said all we can legally say about that. And an interesting one, I think that I've spoken about before as well, which is worth touching on, is Ben Kinross saying, I feel like a broken record here. Trust me, so do I. Trashing Scotland Sevens for one spot in the GB Sevens team. Yes, hard agree. And obviously, like, it goes without saying, really well done to Lisa Thompson for getting into GB Sevens. Going to the Olympics is not a small deal. Very, very impressive. But Scotland had a very successful Sevens programme. It was an excellent feeder for the national system. We've spoken to her blue in the face about the experience that George Horn and Darcy Graham got in the Sevens system, among a bunch of others. How short-sighted and stupid it was to get rid of it for this ridiculous GB Sevens thing. And we've now ended up with one player in the GB Sevens Olympic team. So I am, when that one came in, I was dancing because I am wholeheartedly in agreement with that. I think butchering the Scotland Sevens programme was one of the stupidest things that the SRU have done in a while. And what we've got to show for it is one person going to the Olympics.
Yeah, might not even make it. Was there any Scottish players in that GB squad?
Well, I don't know if we've got. I don't think we've got any men in the men's GB squad, but we've definitely got Lisa Thompson in the women's game. But
waste of talent there. Yeah.
But yeah, Iain, as Johnny's just stepped on or touched on, I should say, Scotland Sevens, one of the highlights of Scottish rugby, and it has brought us many club and Scotland players through the system. How much of a loss has this been? We talk with, the funding has gone, the funding has been put elsewhere, but have we, Johnny has said we've given it up for absolutely nothing. What's your thoughts?
You also wonder where the money actually went. No, well, like Johnny said, till we're blue in the face, it was a great pathway. It means that we could capture players internationally. It means we could get them integrated first, have a look at them, go, all right, are you actually worth keeping on? It teaches all round game skills. Like one of the, I think, great Scottish rugby moments of the last decade or so is when Scotland won their first World Sevens title at Twickenham, and George Horn had the wee smarts to do that little grubber kick straight from kick-off, and Dougie Fife scored and stuff like that. I mean, the turnarounds, those were great rugby moments, but nobody really got to see them because they weren't broadcast on like Scottish TV at all, and then the Commonwealth Games, we broke records. Like, we broke a world record for the number of people who'd attended 7 games. I remember Brett, is it Gosper or Gilpin? I can't remember.
Gosper.
But the Gosper, that was the one. Yep. Yeah, he was there going on about it. And then 2 years later, they take away the Scottish leg of the Sevens, which obviously kills interest in it here. Yeah, it was an absolute travesty as far as I'm concerned.
Well, you've just absolutely taken the word out of my. You've hit the nail on the head with the word that I was going to use, Iain. It's an absolute travesty. It's almost as bad as Melrose replacing their grass with fake plastic. As a pitch, it's absolute. We invented Sevens. Why the hell are we not leading it from the front? And it is an absolute travesty that the SRU have binned that programme just to for what we have, just as you say, for what one player who, don't get me wrong, Lisa Thompson deserves what she's done and she's a phenomenal player, don't get me wrong, but it is ridiculous, just as everyone says. But anyway, I'll hold back because the beer's taken over. All this pressure of talking about Glasgow in a positive way has really fucked with me today. So anyway, I'm allowed to say that. You guys all said that was fine. Anyway, Johnny, your hands in the ruck this week.
Yeah. So I think pretty much all of us have probably done something a bit stupid and a bit embarrassing and something that makes you look like a fanny, right? And I think we could probably all agree that when something like that happens, the best thing to do is to just put your hands up and say, yeah, listen, lads, I've made myself look a bit of an arsehole there. That's turned out pretty badly, and I probably shouldn't have done it.
Is that when you played front row?
It's I would say unbecoming and then even more embarrassing to take to Twitter and shout and scream about photoshops and about how bad winners and stuff Glasgow are when you have had to stand there in the face of Munster's PR team saying, yeah, listen, lads, sorry, we did actually put up a poster saying we were in the final before the semi-final have started, and we do look like a set of wankers. To then have hundreds and hundreds of Munster fans going, you're so disgusting. What are you talking about? Why are you doing that? It's clearly a Photoshop. Stop being such a bad winner. Like, you fucked up. Own it. You look stupid. It was basically Glasgow's bulletin board for the entire game because you put it up on the big screen while they were warming up. Stop acting like you're the hard done by ones here because your team have dropped the ball more than once, by the way, because you got spanked. Just fucking take a bit of ownership for it. Take your medicine. Go, sorry, lads. Yeah, that looks a bit stupid because I'm sick of them. They're still going 5 days later. That didn't really happen. It's like your team are out there saying it happened, mate. Like, fucking back in your box.
Not to pick you up, but 7 points isn't a spanking. But I do understand that, and I would like you to thank Edinburgh for tiring them out. I still stick with that. But yeah, you are right. I think the problem you have is that Ryan Wilson got involved, and automatically everyone didn't believe what a word that he said. But you're right. You know, to put that up while Glasgow are warming up, that's almost like just, you know, when they used to, who was it that used to pin up the is it Gatland that pins up the poor press reports on the wall?
Yeah,
Jim Telford. Yeah, Jim Telford, Springboks tour. Yeah, what they're saying about you.
That is Irish rugby in its smuggest moment, in its smugness in its best moment, and they really properly grabbed defeat from the jaws of victory with that one. So
social media fails this week. There was one I discussed with.
Is this your hands in the ruck, Iain?
No, just this is an add-on. When rumours of Stuart Hogg re-signing for Montpellier arose, a certain website, whom we are well acquainted with, apparently they had a new social media guy on and sort of reposted like, "Oh, are we excited about Stuart Hogg coming back?" I was like, "Dude, seriously? After all the allegations?" Like, yeah, we'll get that taken down. So that went away. What was the other one? Some North American rugby media site was like, "Oh, we're all excited for the Munster v Bulls final this weekend at the Broadwell." So yeah, again, everyone just assumed Munster would win. You could tell it wasn't a Photoshop for the Munster game because you couldn't. I mean, that all the pictures were taken from a phone camera, and phone cameras, the big screens do that weird, pixelation thing. So unless you deliberately put some kind of Photoshop effect on it, which would take quite a lot of fannying about, you wouldn't do that. No, it's just people getting over giddy and not doing their draft post properly. Sorry, picking up my notepad there.
Absolutely.
Yes, my hands are not.
Come on, bring on your hands in the ruck, Iain.
Yeah. Mind, I've had to tone this down. Firstly, our condolences to everyone who loved Connor Garden-Bishop, Hurricanes winger.
Absolutely.
Who I think it was Tuesday morning he was found dead at age 25. Obviously, it's a dreadful tragedy that a young man has lost his life. When the All Blacks tweeted about it, he represented the Maori side. They said he died of medical causes. Now that some kind of medical emergency. That's code word for none of your damn business. that's been used a lot of times. But what the main issue is here, people, as soon as they, as these people who seem to demand the cause of death while family are grieving, they go, oh, a young man's lost his life. Is it because of the vaccine? Right. Now, hold on, you absolute ghouls. No, just because they're like, oh, the All Blacks, because the All Blacks supported everyone, like said, everybody should get the COVID vaccine. Now, I don't know how many, I assume both of you have been vaccinated against COVID. Yep.
Absolutely. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think I'm on 3. I've definitely had 2, maybe 3.
Having two elderly parents that have survived because of having the vaccine.
Yep.
And I don't care what anyone says, that's the truth. So anyway, carry on.
Yeah. So what these absolute ghouls do within minutes, I remember the first person that commented on it, been seeing this, apparently it was 40 minutes after the All Blacks had sent their condolences to the Bashett family. It was like, oh, another young athlete dies. Is it because of a mandated injection, which was unproven, that you made them get? Right. Because we're not Patreon on this, I'm not going to say all the sweary words. Just imagine, have you ever seen a program called The Thick of It? I would recommend you watch a highlight reel of that. A guy called Malcolm Tucker. And that's only some of the swearing I would use. You dreadful, 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 awful people. I'll even just take away the fact that you're a conspiracy theorist, right, and an anti-vaxxer, even though, I mean, it's pretty much proven vaccines work. That's why they're called vaccines. It's when people stop taking vaccines, like MMRA and tuberculosis, that these things have been like almost reintroduced into countries. But no, these freaks, they read one thing on YouTube, or they watch one YouTube video just to appease their mindset. And you can, it's fine to say that dealing with lockdown mentally impacted you. It doesn't have to mean that you don't have to turn into a weirdo, right? Things were badly dealt with, but the people who were doing this vaccine, they weren't doing it for profit. They were doing it because they're scientists. They were doing it because they wanted to fix things. Dolly Parton gave them money. It wasn't all big pharma and all this. This was a lot of philanthropy went into this to try and get this nonsense to hell. But even if you are an anti-vaxxer, right, do not just jump on a young man's death and just say it's because of this when you have no idea what caused it.
Yeah.
Right? There is absolutely nothing. Young people die. People die unexpectedly all the time. Young people, young fit people. There was a football player who was 23 years old. He had a heart attack on the pitch. I remember watching the Denmark game where Christian Eriksen collapsed on the pitch, and I saw people performing CPR on him. I was like, "Oh my God, have I just watched a man die?"
Yeah,
I
think we have to, on our side of things, no matter who you are, to lose a young life, no matter whether they're an athlete, whether they're someone who just works in an office, is an awful, awful thing. And our heartfelt condolences go out to the friends and family of the player. But the issue I have is just the humanity out there. Actually, to be honest, we don't care what you think. We don't care what you do. Whatever you do and you think in your own world, in your own life, is up to you. That's what freedom of living and freedom of speech is all about. But please, just keep that to yourself just now when it comes to a family who have lost a loved one, because it's just this world would be better if people were a little bit more human and less wanting to make a statement on social media. And I think we talking about making statements on social media. We are ones to talk, but I think when it comes to someone losing their life, you need to just get back in your box and hold your tongue for a little while and move on. So, gentlemen, any other hands in the ruck before we finish up?
I think that's us.
Okay, so I have made it. I have made it through this Glasgow Lovin with 4 beers, and I have also.
You did very well, I have to say, Craig.
Yeah, well, I'm proud of myself. I've not mentioned the old Australian once. Oh, bum. But anyway, what we'll do is we'll move
Remember
on.
when you said me, Johnny?
So, a big thank you to all of you who have taken part, listened, all of our patrons. We do love you, patrons. We just want to try and expand our following. So we've done this episode as a little bit of an open house. Don't worry. Next week or the week after, we will be having a special patron to talk about the end of the season and what's all going wrong or going right for the Scottish Rugby. So please look out for that. I'd like to thank everyone for supporting us. We've had a fantastic year, a great season, and good luck to Glasgow. Hope everything goes well this weekend. And it is heartfelt, even though I have drunk 4 beers to dull the pain. So big thanks go out to Iain Hay. Thank you, Iain.
Thank you very much, Craig. Thank you everyone for listening, watching, whatever,
And,
being there for us.
and to the sleeveless wonder. Oh, just a quick one for you all before we finish up. A wee bit of gratitude to the sleeveless wonder who on Sunday was out playing with the clan up at, where were you playing, Johnny?
It was a home game. It was at
the How of Fife. And the How of Fife clan were playing against Strathmore clan. Am I right in saying?
Mm-hmm.
And just, if you ever get the opportunity to cross path with any of the clan members, whether they're differently abled people within the setup of rugby, it's welcome to all. It just gives everyone who wants to play rugby a home. Please look out for the clan. Give anyone, if you're a rugby player and a rugby coach, please try and give your time to any of the clans who are within your rugby reach, because it's a phenomenal thing. And Johnny, well done for the weekend. Even though you turncoated and played for a different team against the How, good on you, mate. I'm glad you got glad you got a run out and had a good weekend. So
it was good fun as always. Thank you. And there are a few pod listeners and 1 or 2 Patreons as well, actually, who play for a few different clans. And it has to be said that everyone who plays, who coaches, who drives buses, anything like that for any of the clan teams is doing the Lord's work. Our clan coach said to me and the other senior players who played on Sunday, you do know that after you play for the clan, you're definitely going to heaven, which shows a fundamental misunderstanding of how far away I am from getting into heaven, but was appreciated by the rest of it.
Well,
it's great work that everyone does. And
if anyone, all of you out there in rugby land, if you want to take anything away, and you sit back and you give the whole rugby values speech, and you love to see Johnny Gray and Finn Russell having a beer at the end of a game, even though they played on opposite sides, get yourself down to a rugby clan game, support them, help them, be part of it, and then you'll know what rugby values is. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Oh, Ian's got something. He's going to ruin my whole good sentiment. Hold on.
I know.
Here we go.
Yeah. Oh, there was some rugby values. There was some booing when George Horn was kicking at Holland Park, which amused me.
Yeah. But that totally blew my fine. That was my big finish there, Ian.
No, that was a lovely ending. So, Craig, I'll bring it back on track with it. I'll re-lovely your ending and I'll bring it back on track for you, and I'll do a little favour in return for you doing so well tonight, because I have to say we reached the end of the clan season on Sunday. That was our game against Strathmore was the last game, and by far the biggest supporters nationally of the clan and the mixed ability rugby setup this year have been Edinburgh, who organised 2 fantastic tournaments, who comped us all tickets for 2 URC games, who fed us, who put up all 5 national clans, organised brilliant fixtures on the back pitches, and just were consistently great. When our kits didn't turn up for the second one, they and I'm going to say this as a positive point, you'll know, they gave me an Edinburgh kit to wear. They gave our whole team Edinburgh kits to wear, and have really pulled the stops out this year. So everybody's been brilliant in the clan setup this year. Everybody deserves all the plaudits that they could get. But let's end on a nice note. Craig was nice about Glasgow. Edinburgh were phenomenal with the clan this year. So well done to them.
Right, so we will end this loving It will not always continue to be like this. But good luck to Glasgow. Thanks to all who are involved with Scottish Rugby, and thanks for joining us tonight. And if you ever do want to join us on the Patreon, have a wee look at www.patreon.com/the Scottish Rugby Podcast. Thank you so much. Have a great night, and take care.
Ciao.
Bye.
Or you can just follow us on Twitter as well.
Yeah.